Kia ora tātou katoa. My name is Dr. Roy Davies. I have the pleasure today of being given the challenge to talk in an area of alternative reality gardening. And the subtitle I've chosen here is Growing Strong Ideas to Benefit Your Community Using Emerging Disruptive Technologies. You can see down the bottom there a few of my affiliations and links, and this slide deck will be available for later use as well. And I say that because there's quite a few links in the slide deck that you might want to click on later. But first, just let me introduce myself properly. Ko te hongare ingarihi taku awa, ko sāk taku motu, ko sāk motu iti I te hongare ingarihi. I Aotearoa I Tipākia hau I Huapai, I Tāmaki Makaurau. I noho hau I hui tēnei I Tekamarua tau. Ko Pākehā taku whānau, ko Pākehā ahau. Ko Annette taku roa hua rangatira, ko Caitlin taku kōtero. Ko Roy Davies, tōku ingoa. So I come from a little island called Sark in the English Channel, but I spent my growing up years in Huapai in Auckland, but I also spent 12 years in Sweden at the university there. And you can see a picture there of my family. My wife uses a wheelchair for mobility, and my daughter is adopted from India. So we're an interesting family, but I'm definitely Pākehā through and through in that sense. Today, I want to talk to you about two key themes: emerging disruptive technologies and growing strong ideas. And where those intersect is alternative realities. So I'm hoping that through this, you'll get an understanding of how to manifest your alternative reality. In emerging disruptive technologies, there are many, many things out there like mixed reality, metaverse, digital twins, Internet of Things, spatial computing, drones, edge computing, lots and lots of words, and we'll cover some of these today. Also to note is a change in how we have a user experience with technology. I'd say XR or mixed reality is becoming the new user experience. We'll also talk a little bit about Apple changing the script again. And the other theme is, how do you grow strong ideas? In particular, how do you grow strong ideas to benefit your community? These are some of the technologies I grew up with. Now that telephone on the top left there, we had something like that in Sark. And if you wanted to talk to somebody, you would crank the handle and you'd pick up the receiver and you talk to the operator on the other side. And she was kind of like, I don't know, the Facebook and FaceTime of the time, because you could say, oh, I want to talk to John, and she'd know who John was visiting, the latest gossip, and how to connect you through to where he actually was, not necessarily his home phone number. The computer I grew up with when I was learning how to program was something called the Dragon 32. And that was going to be sort of like 80s, I suppose. I also created my own circuit boards by having copper on PCB boards and then dunking them in acid. And I was thinking back the other day, I was thinking, I had pots of acid around my room when I was about sort of 10. I don't know what my parents were thinking, but I learned a lot of useful stuff, I suppose. I also learned something really, really important, life hack here. Don't solder inside a computer when it's turned on. My poor old Dragon 32, when I was trying to do something inside there, I forgot to turn it off, and, well, it was no more, unfortunately. My interest in computers took me to the University of Auckland, where I got interested in computer science in the early 90s, and I developed assistive devices for people with wheelchairs. And I had to learn to use whatever was available, in this case, it was like the Mac Classic was the computer of the time, and whatever kind of physical devices that we could connect to that. So I learned a lot of electronics and got to apply that in real-world applications. When I moved to Sweden, I got interested in virtual reality, partly because somebody says, hey, do you want a job at the university in virtual reality? And I said, sure. Didn't know what it was at that stage. But what you see here is the first virtual reality environment ever made, which was for teaching people who've had a traumatic brain injury to relearn the daily task of brewing coffee. This is running on a Pentium Pro 200 megahertz PC running DOS, and yet we were able to create these complex simulations. I learned many things. I learned that Swedish coffee is not transparent, it's opaque, dark, and it's bitter. I also learned that we could have sound effects compensating for visual effects, and that the sound would actually override what people could see. So when we asked people, for example, with the visual effect of the water going into the pot here, they would say, oh, that actually looked really good, but there was none. It was just a really good sound effect. We also use robots to help severely disabled children learn physical play, because if you're very disabled as a child, you often don't get to interact with stuff in the same way, and you sometimes don't learn some of those same the physical realities of the world. I've been involved in or led many projects since then, both in academia and commercially. Here you can see a whole virtual kitchen for training people with brain injury. We've done town planning and mixed reality. We've done car simulators, historical projects, large-scale virtual reality, and even commercial projects. I'm going to show you a couple of videos now from a couple of commercial projects that I've done. And I want you to bear in mind, these are from like 2017, 2018. And nevertheless, I think quite amazing for the time. So the first, geospatial gamified storytelling tool. So that was for celebrating the Waka Festival. And if you're on the Sky Tower at the moment that happened, you would have seen him from that perspective in the waterway down there. Now something augmented reality.
Prepare to have your minds blown. It's a new 3D scratchy we've developed. Sure, you can scratch it like any other, but this one's special. Observe.
Oh, what's that?
It's the all-new Lucky Fortune Scratchy in 3D.
I won!
What a lucky lady, eh? Up high.
Hold this, I need free hats!
There we go. Same thrilling feeling, now with more ways to play. Instant thrills, instant Kiwi.
So the key thing here is that these technologies have been around for a while and people are using them commercially to great success. Now, presently I work at the Smart Digital Lab, University of Auckland, Civil and Environmental Engineering. And what I'm showing you here is a 3D reconstruction of the lab using a tool called Matterport. And I'll just show you that here. So I can go in here and it will take me into this in interactive 3D, and I can move around, look at this. This was generated just by standing in different spots in the lab. You can see them highlighted here, and just going around with my mobile phone and taking lots of photos. Then you upload it to the site and it creates this for you. Now you get the first one for free. So to be fair, it's not a free tool generally, but this one, you get your first one for free. And this shows the lab. So you can see we've got VR headsets over here. We've got a robot dog down there. We've got optical tracking system, all sorts of amazing tech that we use in this space. So very briefly, the technologies that we have in the lab, we have things like LiDAR and drones, we do a lot of motion capture, we have our own in-house software, which anybody can use. We do biometric analysis of people using technology. We have robots on construction sites. So a whole range of very interesting technologies there. And if anybody wants to come and visit, you are most welcome to make contact, and I'll show you some really cool stuff. When it comes to emerging technology, the question is, well, what are people actually saying about it? So I thought I'd do a bit of a search. And you can see in the case of XR, apparently it's the new frontier of converging technology shaping the metaverse of tomorrow. That's KPMG. AI is on the brink of a boom. It promises to bolster financial gains across myriad sectors, and there are big hopes to solve countless business and societal problems. That's the AI Forum. An interesting thing to look at is the technology adoption roadmap, which I'll show you a little bit more about in a moment, from Gartner. We're also seeing a trend moving away from centralized cloud to more distributed technologies. And according to computer.org, edge computing is now taking up some of that load. And I think this one here is very interesting. By year-end 2024, Gartner predicts that 75% of the world's population will have its personal data covered under modern privacy regulations. Now, what's happening there is that authorities, like in the EU, for example, are making it much more difficult for organizations like Meta and Google just to suck up all your data and not to give you any benefit for it. And so we're seeing a real trend in that space as well. Now, however you want to frame it, emerging technologies are changing lives. Gartner has this thing called the Gartner hype cycle, which basically describes pretty much the process that all technologies go through, from innovation trigger, when the idea was created, to the peak of inflated expectations, when it is the best thing since sliced bread. I remember the virtual reality peak of inflated expectations the first time it came around, and it was like, wow, this is the best thing, we can do anything with it. After a while, though, people sort of get disillusioned with it. It's not good for everything. It does have its limitations. And then you get the slope of enlightenment and the plateau of productivity. And they update this every year. And this year, there are 4 key trends that they're talking about here. Emergent AI, that's artificial intelligence that has emergent properties that, depending on how it's connected together. Developer experience, which is interesting, which is enabling or making it easier for non-developers in particular to create interesting things. Pervasive cloud, as I described before, cloud which is not necessarily in China or the US. And again, this one here, human-centric security and privacy. So again, this is a leading trend. Gartner also visualizes technologies in a different way. And again, you can see here, one of the key areas that they've highlighted is transparency and privacy, digital ethics, human-centered AI. You've got critical enablers, Web3, 6G, and various other things, blockchain. Smart worlds, digital twins, metaverse. We'll talk about more of these a bit later on. And productivity revolution, particularly in the areas of self-supervised learning, intelligent applications, and generative AI. And you can see here again, you've got human-centered AI, self-supervised learning. Neuromorphic computing is using the brain as a model for creating computers that are more, well, hopefully more intelligent. And again, you can read more about that down here by clicking on that link. These are 4 areas that I think are very interesting. The first being machine learning and intelligence augmentation, IA, not AI. And what's happening there is we're seeing more and more technologies that are making it much easier to communicate with technologies. So it's becoming more of a conversation rather than a command-driven tool. Moving away from keyboards and mouse, moving away from the desktop metaphor. We're seeing distributed computing, and we all have in our pockets phones that are way more powerful than those first virtual reality computers that I used to use. Not everything has to be in the US or China. You can have a data center under your desk, for example. We're also seeing mixed reality as a user experience, where multiple sensors and multiple modalities mean that working with the technology, again, is more like a conversation. And I'll talk a bit about the Apple's new mixed reality headset, which is a game changer. And then the other trend, which I'm seeing a lot of, is both from the user's perspective and from the company's perspective, is a focus on privacy, ethics, and digital sovereignty. And there's great opportunity within that space. Sure, sometimes you may have to give away some of your information, but you need to do that with awareness and about what you're going to get back from that. So the question that people often ask me is, can I learn emerging technologies? And I say, well, yes, you can. When I'm working with master's students, for example, they often ask this question, well, I don't know much about technology. How do I get in there? And how do I learn this stuff? Well, there's a lot of free tools out there, and I'll show you some of those in a moment. And then the other question that people often have is, well, how can I grow strong ideas? And the question is, well, can I grow strong ideas? And the answer is, well, yes, we can all do this. And there's two simple rules to keep in mind. If you have an idea and you want to make it strong, seek feedback for your idea from a diversity of people, and most importantly, be prepared to learn and grow your idea from that feedback. Well, what about gardening? Okay, so this is supposed to be alternative reality gardening. And I took some inspiration from koanga.org.nz, Grow Great Kumara. And so we'll see how this goes. The first thing, if you want to grow kumara, is to grow the tupu, the seedlings. And this is a really good point, because all great ideas grow from past ideas. So your tupu, they grow from your previous kumara. So, but what is a strong idea? Every idea has a beginning. That aha moment often comes after considerable work, but quite often happens when you're in that relaxed state. You're in the shower or walking along the beach, perhaps. But to make an idea strong, you then have to build on it. And most importantly, you have to test it and test it and test it. An idea that just stays in your mind is not very useful. If you want to read a story about how to grow a strong idea, this is the story of Hene. This is a little storybook I made. It's online. You can see it there, that link. And it talks about growing an idea is like growing a child. You need a community to do that. So if you are looking for a solution for a problem, the key thing you can do to start with is to get out there and learn. This is growing your knowledge base. There's lots of free stuff, free courses, tutorials, tools. Also get out there, meet people, go to events, join online groups. And when you're talking to people, if you've got this problem in your mind, and when you're learning stuff, you'll think at some point, oh, I wonder if, and then you're off you go. So I've just pulled out a few places that you can learn things online, and there are many, many of these. If you want to learn about virtual reality, for example, Unity is just one of the virtual reality tools. They have hundreds of hours of tutorials completely for free that teach you how to use their software. And their software is free unless you want to use it for commercial purposes. If you want to learn about Web3 and blockchain, there are places like Alchemy, for example. Or maybe you want to learn about how to build great user experiences. Then there are user experience tools like the Interactive Design Foundation. And similarly, in the AI space, there's a whole range of places you can go to learn about that. The question is, what's good and what's not. Often you get recommendations from people who say, oh, I went on this course and it was really great. Maybe you should try that. And that's often a good way to start. And here's another one, edX.org, about learning artificial intelligence. And a lot of these tools, or a lot of these tutorials are targeted at people who are just getting into the space, and then they have other versions which are more advanced as well. Sometimes the first ones are free, and sometimes the more advanced ones you might have to pay for. But nevertheless, good place to start. Now, when I'm talking to students, particularly when I'm working with the students at AcademyEX, who tend to be returning students, often about my age, the question I often get is, well, what should I do? What should my master's be on? And I always come back with, well, what's important for you? What is your passion? Because you're going to be doing this for some time. And there are going to be times when it's tough. So it's important that you have the passion there to help you through. From that passion, from that knowledge, you will then see the connections and possibilities. And of course, don't forget to have fun. So before this plays, I'm going to play this video now, which is, I think it's interesting because it comes from a company called Corning. Corning makes the glass that's on your mobile phone, but it also makes bakeware and a bunch of other things. They actually made the glass for the first light bulb ever. So they've been around for a while. And I think what's really interesting here is it shows a world where the digital world integrates with the real without funny glasses. So here we go. So I think what's very interesting about their vision there, first of all, that it was done quite a number of years ago, 2011 to 2013, but also just how seamless everything seems to integrate together. A number of times that we've spent trying to connect one thing to another, a computer to a projector, for example, makes you realize that maybe we have a wee way to go before this vision becomes reality. Okay, so the next thing when you're growing kumara is you need to prepare the beds. And in the context of what we're talking about today, it's how do you prepare yourself to grow this idea, where technology might be the answer. How do you grow your alternative reality? And something else that's important is what values are important to you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some essentially inspirational videos of technologies that I think are interesting, but there's just a lot out there. So you really need to get out there yourself and look for these things.
The Emotibit team aims to make using Emotibit a super easy and streamlined experience for everyone. This is why we created kits and bundles. We recommend a kit for most Emotibit users. By adding a kit onto your Emotibit purchase, you will have everything you need to start measuring biometric data right out of the box. The kit includes an SD card with high-speed write capacity, an Adafruit feather, and a 400 mAh battery that fits perfectly between the Emotibit and feather. We aim to save you time and stress so you can immediately start up your projects with Emotibit.
So this is open source hardware that you can get for a reasonable price, and you can get right in there and start creating interesting applications. Here's another one which is pretty much self-explanatory.
Introducing Unihiker. A single board computer brings brand new experience. Featuring a 2.8-inch touchscreen, Unihiker enables you to visualize sensor data in charts, graphs, and even dynamic animations. Getting started with Unihiker is straightforward. Connect it with a Type-C cable, enter the displayed IP, and start programming in the browser. Unihiker runs on a Debian-based system. You can use various software on it just like any other Linux computer, including the built-in Jupyter Notebook for web-based programming. Our hardware control library enables direct control of hundreds of sensors and actuators using Python. The built-in IoT service on Unihiker allows you to store data through the MQTT protocol and provides real-time data access via web browser. All the data is stored on device. Unihiker can connect to a router and be programmed from a computer, an iPad, or even a phone. It also supports hotspot. You can play it from anywhere. With a standard USB camera, you can apply the OpenCV library for facial recognition. Apart from Jupyter, popular software like VS Code, VIM, and Thani can also be used for coding. You can control Unihiker using Mind Plus and easily build projects by drag and drop, such as detecting indoor carbon dioxide levels, or even creating a game. Using Node-RED, you can also achieve automated control with Unihiker. On the screen, you can instantly obtain sensor data, such as laser array. No programming experience? No worries. Directly generate and debug Python code with ChatGPT. Mix and match various control and programming methods to boost your creativity with Unihiker. Unihiker controls fast open source hardware via its rich interfaces. Using Unihiker, you can create a smart speaker that acts as the central control hub for your smart home system, effortlessly managing your smart home devices. Integrated with robots' full AI brains. or transform it into a portable instrument for data exploration and observation. Compact, feature-rich, and user-friendly, Unihiker offers an innovative development experience for learning, coding, and creating. Unleash your imagination and embrace a new journey with Unihiker.
Now, I should say, as a all-in-one device for getting started with your project, it's an amazing tool. I've been using it for various projects now, and we use it at the university as well.
Meet Matterport, the market-leading 3D platform that lets anyone turn a physical space into an immersive digital twin. Homes, offices, factories, shops, museums, schools, you name it. Scans are captured from any compatible camera, including the phone in your pocket. This recent innovation is only possible because of Matterport's huge data library. And behind it all is Cortex, our powerful AI and deep learning neural network that automatically stitches together images to construct dimensionally accurate 3D models. Once a digital twin is created, it can be customized with matter tags, labels, and guided tours, and easily shared with anyone on any device. They can virtually view, collaborate, and engage with 3D spaces. Thousands of companies in over 150 countries use Matterport and have realized unparalleled value. Millions of spaces of every kind have been captured, comprising billions of square feet and 3D data points, resulting in the largest spatial data library in the world. And it gets bigger every day, allowing customers across the property lifecycle to unlock unprecedented spatial data insights and analytics. Matterport has been digitizing the built world for a decade. Now, we're massively scaling towards achieving our mission of making every building and every space more valuable and accessible.
I mean, sometimes when I see tools like this, I'm just amazed at what's possible. And again, you can do the first one for free. Now, when it comes to virtual, mixed, and augmented reality, I've got a couple of videos to show, but there's all sorts of devices out there, and they're not free. But you can get a MetaQuest 2 for not too expensive, maybe less than $1,000. Especially since the MetaQuest 3 is going to come out soon, and the MetaQuest 2, I imagine, will go down in price quite considerably. There's other ones from other companies like Vive and the HoloLens, which I'll show you a video of in a moment.
Bump it up another level, like only you can do. Switch it up. Switch it up. Switch it up, back. Switch it up, back. Switch it up, back. Switch it up. Switch it up, back. Switch it up, back. Switch it up, back. Switch it up. Switch it up, back. Switch it up, back. Make it move. Go ahead. Switch it up. What you gonna do with the power? What you gonna do with it? What you gonna do with it? What you gonna do with the power? What you gonna do with it? What you gonna do? What you gonna do with the power? What you gonna do with it? What you gonna do? What you gonna do with the power? If you won't go ahead, switch it up. 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 To be a good time. Switch it up. Switch it up. Switch it up. Switch it up. Make it move. Go ahead. Switch it up.
I remember my first virtual reality headset must have been 20 years ago or so, I suppose. And it is as different from this as that first PC running DOS is from a modern PC. Things have moved along so quite amazingly. What's interesting with this, though, is not just the headset itself, but the fact that anybody can download the software, anybody can create things for this. So if you've got an idea and you want to try it out, there are tools for this. You can get them to learn Unity, and off you go. If you want to do augmented reality, then you've got, for example, the HoloLens. There are other ones out there, but this is a good one to look at. So the key difference there is that this is augmented reality you're seeing through the device. And we're going to see more devices like this coming up, including the new Apple device. The Meta Quest 3 that you saw before, also you have augmented and mixed reality, but there it's using cameras that you're seeing inside on the screen, whereas the HoloLens, you're seeing the real world through the lenses.
Mixed Reality Toolkit, or MRTK, is a Microsoft-driven open-source project that provides a set of building blocks for spatial interactions, rich UI, and other common challenges developers face when building MR applications. It's also cross-platform, supporting many devices from HoloLens to Meta Quest to Windows Mixed Reality headsets and others. Now, you may be familiar with MRTK v2 that's currently out there, but today I'm here to talk to you about MRTK 3. And I want to give you a quick peek at some of our new features. In MRTK 3, we're introducing new interaction design features, such as indirect gaze pinch manipulation, which allows you to perform the same familiar hand interactions while targeting objects with your eyes. No aligning hand raise required. Here, we have our new data binding and theming feature. This allows you to reskin a UI quickly and easily. In MRTK3, we have a more modular architecture. We've broken down MRTK into over a dozen packages, so now you don't have to bring along all of MRTK to just get the features you're interested in. And we've been working on MRTK internally for over a year, and now we're really excited to open it up to the community and hear your guys' feedback and collaborate with you.
So you combine that with the Unity tools, you combine that with the virtuality heads that you want to do, even just on the screen or even inside your mobile phone, and you have a really powerful set of tools. It's not too hard to get working with. Now, the reason this is so interesting is because using these technologies is not just about what you see, what you hear, it's what you can interact with. And being able to interact accurately with your hands, and as the next video shows, being able to feel things in the virtual space is very important as well. Now, the example shown in the next video clip is not augmented reality as most people think of it. It's augmenting the experience of driving a car. This builds on research that we know from the past, that actual physical buttons and knobs and levers and so on are much easier to interact with if you're trying to have your focus somewhere else, for example, when driving a car or flying an airplane. But what they're doing here is they're saying, well, you can have a virtual interface, but still get some of that sensation of touch, the haptics of that. And the numbers that you saw there just showed that people are able to concentrate on the road, and therefore it's much more safe than if they actually had to look at a screen and figure out where to press buttons on a touch screen. Now, before this one plays, now shifting gear a little bit towards the drone technologies. And what I want to highlight here is just some of the amazing technologies that are out there in terms of being able to capture the built environment, capture the natural environment, but also the different applications that can be used.
Imagine a new world, effortlessly digitized by an airborne LiDAR system. Today, meet the ZenMuse L1, a payload that combines the powers of both LiDAR and visible light. It enhances the 3D data capture capabilities of drones and enables you to recreate the world. The L1 integrates a LiveOx LiDAR module, a survey-grade camera, and a high-accuracy IMU on a 3-axis gimbal. It has a detection range of up to 450 meters, and the fusion of LiDAR and RGB data produces effective true color, high-density point clouds at the centimeter-accurate level. Infrastructure assets like bridges, power lines, and towers can be modeled precisely by the L1, so you can operate and maintain them safely and efficiently. In heavily foliaged areas, its multi-return capability can penetrate vegetation canopies and capture point cloud data of ground features, as well as bare earth. Extract the vegetation point cloud to acquire information such as tree count, canopy width, and height. The remaining ground surface data can then be used to generate highly accurate digital elevation models for topographic maps. In areas with large changes in elevation, the Terrain Follow feature generates flight paths with variable heights to ensure the consistency of the point cloud data. Nighttime rescue missions in complex terrains have always been difficult. The L1 lets you view point cloud models in real time. Mark points, lines, and areas of interest on the live model to measure and annotate. You can verify fieldwork quality immediately and gain critical insight for on-site decision-making. The ZenMuse L1 forms an integrated solution with the Matrice 300 RTK and DJI Terra. This combo changes the game for the quick creation of true color point clouds and reality models. Upgrade your toolbox with the L1. Recreate your world in vivid 3D.
Now, one of the things that little video shows you there, it talks about digital twins and how to create digital twins. So I thought it would be a good time to
There are many
about
notable
digital
twins in the world today. You might even be a twin. But do you know what a digital twin is? Essentially, it's a digital version of a physical object, a dynamic, up-to-date digital replica of a built asset or environment. With the help of building information modeling, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and Internet of Things technology, data from the original asset is used to build and improve the digital twin. By providing a precise, up-to-date model of its original, a digital twin can help designers, engineers, contractors, owners, and manufacturers create more efficient structures. Digital twins can help with everything from planning, design, and construction to operations and maintenance. Consider a building that's already been designed and constructed. Imagine there's a digital twin of the entire facility, from the roof to the HVAC to the mechanical, engineering, and plumbing systems. Now imagine that sensors in the building provide the digital twin with real-time information. The digital twin updates itself according to the data. Then, building owners can view areas where the building is aging or faulty. and make improvements. On a greater scale, multiple digital twins can be integrated in an entire ecosystem. So, how did digital twins get their start? In the 1960s, NASA was one of the first agencies to use mirroring technology to replicate systems in space. Notably, NASA created a replica of Apollo 13, which became critical in the midst of its challenging mission. Engineers were able to test solutions on the replica to avoid further disaster. Dr. Michael Greaves, Chief Scientist for Advanced Manufacturing at the Florida Institute of Technology, introduced the concept of the digital twin at an American Society of Mechanical Engineers conference in 2002. He proposed a product lifecycle management center that contained the elements of a digital twin, the physical space, the virtual space, and the flow of information between the two. The manufacturing industry was quick to adopt digital twins, and the architecture, engineering, and construction industry followed suit, with the help of technological advancements like BIM, or Building Information Modeling. Today, digital twin technology plays a big part in the digital transformation of the design, engineering, construction, manufacturing, and maintenance industries. A digital twin starts with knowledge of the assets and spaces that make up a facility. This type of descriptive twin is a live, editable version of design and construction data, such as a visual replica of assets or facilities. An informative twin has an added layer of operational and sensory data. As more and more data is added, the twin becomes richer and richer and more strongly linked to its physical counterpart. Predictive twins are able to leverage this operational data for insights, while comprehensive twins simulate future scenarios and consider what-if questions. In the future, twins will become autonomous, able to learn and act on behalf of users. Because digital twins can gather key information about things like population growth, natural resource supply levels, and historical data on environmental disasters, they can help build more resilient cities and infrastructures as the world changes. Eventually, an entire ecosystem of digital twins will help industries respond to global challenges with powerful, simultaneous changes. Right now, digital twins are helping operations and facility managers respond faster by removing the need for complex and time-consuming maintenance documents. Owners can gather information from the design and build phases to make faster business decisions, lowering operational and maintenance costs. Professionals on-site can predict material and labor cycles, reducing waste and enhancing safety. By helping professionals gain more insight into the inner workings of the world, digital twins are becoming partners in building a better future.
Now, because this was produced by Autodesk, their description of digital twins is very construction-based, but I've also seen digital twins used in medical applications as well. So you can essentially have a digital twin of a human body in order to understand what might be going on with a particular person. Okay, so that's preparing the ground. Now you've got to prepare the tupu, the seedlings. And if you've got many ideas, it's often quite difficult to choose one to grow and make strong, or maybe a few. So let's explore that a little bit now. When you're refining an idea, it means reducing the number of things you've got to think about and focusing down. Thinking about exactly what is the problem you want to solve, or what is the opportunity that you see. Most importantly, you need to work with people who have this problem and or could benefit from this, as well as domain experts. And also look around and see other similar solutions in other domains that you can learn from. When we were doing the work with brain injury rehabilitation, we were learning a lot from the work that was done with surgical simulators, for example. I developed a system called the quadruple diamond process, which is a way of growing strong ideas. There are 4 stages. You strengthen the idea. That's when you start with the idea spark and you debate and you test and you talk with people. You then innovate, you create proofs of concept to try and test things out a bit more. Then you can activate those once you've figured out that maybe it's a good idea. You can create your minimum viable product or a version of what it is you want to make. And then, of course, it's not just about making something. You've actually got to get it out there, get it to clients, and essentially turn it into a proper product. Or if it's not a product for sale, it might be, making it available for people to use and so on. So the double diamond has been around for quite a while. This is a really good tool. I highly recommend reading a bit more about it. And you can read more about that at the Design Council. You can see here that the 4 stages: discover, define, develop, deliver. And the diamond shape shows that as you start, you go wide, you get as much information as you can. Then in the define phase, you focus down. Then you develop, again, and go wide. And as you come towards the final solution, you focus down again in the delivery phase. All right. So learning from and being inspired by existing solutions, often in a different domain, helps get the creative juices flowing. Now, I've been in the mixed reality space for a long time, so I'm going to give you some inspirational ideas from the mixed reality space, but you can look around elsewhere as well, of course. One of the first is something called haptic hongi. In the context of colonialized world, first encounter dramas echo down the years. Says Maori Gunn, who's the researcher behind this. For Maori, for example, first contact was and is traumatic. And what this was an experience, augmented reality experience, where you could reach forward and you could hongi, and you could feel and you could see, and it was very intense. Here's another one, more practical perhaps.
The ITI Tower Crane Desktop VR unit is the first VR training simulator designed specifically to address the unique challenges associated with tower crane operation. Featuring real tower crane physics built to the manufacturer's specifications. The Tower Crane Desktop VR unit is fully compatible with all existing ITI VR crane types, including rough terrain hydraulic, lattice boom crawler, boom truck, carry deck, and overhead gantry. Just swap out your controller pods and start moving some iron.
Hoist up 5 meters. Hoist up.
Real OEM controls to transition seamlessly from training to live operating. Simplify and standardize new operator screenings. Formalize training, seat time, and practice time throughout your organization. To learn more about the ITI VR Tower Crane Operator Training Simulator, visit iti.com/VR. Set up an on-site demo at your location by calling 8.
Now, I should say that learning through virtuality, we know, is a really great way of learning real-world tasks in a less dangerous environment, whether it's crane operator, surgery, keyhole surgery, or anything like that. But also virtuality is good for just relaxing. So, it's not always about shooting something or driving very fast. It can also just be about...
What if there was a way for employees to work together from anywhere?
But
when
there's also
everything is
solving
on
problems.
the line. Employees are the heart of every business. It's their resourcefulness, ingenuity, and drive that get the job done. But even the best employees need help from people who aren't there with them. Now employees on site can work side by side with experts in remote locations. In an instant, they can share what they see, lend a helping hand, walk through the process step by step, helping solve problems in real time. This is a new vision for work. Now employees can work smarter and bring in the people they need with just a tap. They can troubleshoot, repair, and perform with confidence and speed. They can move freely, pull critical information into view, and stay focused on the task. Their hands free to do the work. This is collaborative problem solving at full speed. Your people, united across time and distance, more connected, more informed, and more efficient. Now employees can work together from anywhere. They can go there without being there. This isn't the future. This is here and now.
So that's a great example of how these tools can connect people in real time to solve.
We've chosen augmented reality as technology to enable us to actually visualize the patient's spine through their skin. Essentially, it's giving us X-ray vision. With augmented reality, what happens is the surgeon wears a headset and glasses. It projects the image of the patient's spine onto the patient through their skin. And so now we can have the advantage of navigation information while staring at our patient while doing our surgery. So the workflow is much more natural. We're not really changing our procedure. It's just giving us additional information to make the procedure safer and more efficient. Any procedure that necessitates implantation of devices into somebody's spine can be helped with an augmented reality navigation system. This includes things like spinal fusions, which are very, very common. All of our surgeons here at UConn Health use this technology. And being an academic center, we're always trying to think about what are the new ways we could apply this technology to better serve our patients.
Okay, so hopefully those are some inspiring videos to sort of show you how to prepare the ground. Now, planting out and nurturing. So the next phase is really then to grow this idea. And there are all sorts of tools, but essentially it means applying different techniques. There's things like Hui, Talanoa, participatory design, design sprints, lean canvas, many, many different ways of looking at or building your idea and growing it further. What you're trying to do here is you're trying to gain access to people's tacit knowledge. You're trying to understand what it is that they know so that you can bring that knowledge into your to solve your problem. So, for example, design sprint is a very popular way of growing something from an idea through to like a product idea. And it's a 5-day process where the first day you understand the problem, you define it, you sketch it out, you make decisions, you build prototypes, and you test it. It's very intense, but you can. It's a good way to get very quickly through to possible solutions. In a similar way, there's things like lean canvas. Lean canvas replaces long and boring business plans with a one-page business model that takes 20 minutes to create and gets read. The way we use this, for example, is you stick up a whiteboard and you create these categories, and you have post-it notes, and everybody writes the things that they think are important under, the problem, solution, high-level concepts, revenue streams, and so on. And again, it's a very good way to get people to collaborate together to really get down to what the core of the problem, or what the core of the solution in this case might actually be. If you're doing interviews, if you are working with people, if you're gathering questionnaires, then you'll need to analyze those. And thematic analysis is a really good way of doing that. You can read more about that on thematicanalysis.net. Essentially, it's a versatile and accessible method. It's a very good way of consciously working through and finding out what people are actually saying and that you find interesting. Also, of course, maybe you're doing it inside virtuality, inside the metaverse.
What's going on, everyone?
Hey, how are you?
I'm Daniel from the UK.
Good afternoon.
So maybe it's not work from home in the future, it's work from VR, potentially. Work from the metaverse. Okay, so the final phase is how you then harvest your kumra, or in the case of growing ideas, how you take it to the next stage. And there are all sorts of things you can do. You may need to find financing, you may need to do further development. I quite often work with companies, for example, who they've got the idea, they want to take it to the next stage, they need to work with development teams, they don't know how to speak that language, so I can help them with that. And there are people like myself testing it, getting the hands of people, also moving it from like a one-off proof of concept or MVP to an everyday solution. Often that's a question of scale. Maybe you're making something to test and it's maybe a couple of people, it's 10 people, but needs to scale to several 100,000 people. That's quite an interesting challenge by itself. There are all sorts of organizations that you can go to. Here's a few from New Zealand. There's some from Creative Technology Northland, RFE Incubator, Callaghan, Creative New Zealand, New Zealand On Air. And there are many others that you can go to both get help, but also to seek funding. Now, just want to finish off with the elephant in the room. Apple recently released their new headset. It's a mixed reality headset. And it is really the iPhone moment for mixed reality. People, I think, are underestimating just how important this is. It's not that this does anything different to other headsets per se, but it's the way it does it as well.
Introducing Apple Vision Pro. Vision Pro, Vision Pro, Vision Pro, Vision Pro.
Yes, Apple's mixed reality headset is now a reality. Here at the company's Cupertino campus, it just showed off the long-awaited reality headset.
The face computer, my term, not theirs, bridges virtual reality, where you're fully transported to a virtual world, with augmented reality, where you see virtual objects in your real world. Apple's calling it
spatial computing.
And yes, it
starts at $34.99.
Apple spent 45 minutes detailing how it works and what you can do with it.
Let me break it down for you in way less time. These are $3 lab goggles.
The headset looks like a pair of aluminum and glass ski goggles.
Basically these, but cooler and way more expensive.
The front of the device has a screen so people can see your eyes when you're wearing it. Creepy, kinda. It looks way slimmer and lighter than Meta's Quest Pro. One of the big reasons for that, a cord from the headset attaches to this battery pack. Apple says the battery will last 2 hours. You can also plug it into an outlet to use it all day.
On the one hand, I'm excited not to wear a battery on my head. On the other hand, battery fanny packs.
There are no controllers like other VR headsets. You use your hands to navigate around. There are multiple cameras on the device too, which help you see the real world with digital objects in it. The Apple Watch-like digital crown dial lets you get to the home screen and also controls how much of the virtual world you see. You can even use the cameras to capture spatial 3D videos and photos.
It's easy to capture a spatial photo or video with just the press of a button.
If you're wondering how you log in, iris scans with Optic ID. Apple says your eye scans are kept on the device.
So what do you do once you've got that on your head and all that other stuff on your body? Well, Apple showed off a few experiences.
Surprisingly, a lot of the things shown have to do with work. You can see multiple windows from your Mac above your desk.
Microsoft apps like Excel, Word, and Teams make full use of the expansive canvas and sharp text rendering of Vision Pro.
You can FaceTime with family or colleagues. The FaceTime stuff is pretty crazy. Since you're not holding a camera out in front of your face, you create a scan instead, basically a hologram, to appear in your chats. There's stuff to do in your downtime too, like watching immersive 3D movies and playing Apple Arcade games. There's game controller support too. But what Apple's really hoping is that software developers build new applications for Vision OS, the operating system powering it all. Disney CEO Bob Iger even showed off some virtual Disney experiences.
This platform will allow us to bring Disney to our fans in ways that were previously impossible.
I have a lot of thoughts on it all. I should be trying it out soon. Stay tuned for my first impressions.
So I have to say, amazing piece of technology, but I'm not sure $3,500 US is going to be within the price range of many people. So it'll be interesting to see what the cost of the second version is going to be. Now that last video there, which I won't play now, but you can get when you look at this slide deck again, that's the actual Apple announcement video. It goes on for about 10 minutes or so. So just to finish off, what is your strong idea that might benefit your community? My challenge to you is to think about your idea, how to grow it, the emerging disruptive technologies that might be part of the solution, and then get out there and make it happen. So thank you for your time. And there's my contact details down the bottom again.